You are now listening to the fastest show on iSports Radio. My name is Darryl Kinsey Jr. welcoming you to take a lap of the extra mile for today, June 20th, 2024. Remember, I can be found at Twitter at DKJr12. Christopher Lehman, my co-host, he is at Fiji Sims. Christopher, say hi.
Howdy, howdy.
And we have a lot to get to this weekend. The Lamar 24 lived up to its name. NASCAR is heading back to New England. IndyCar is out west. And can McLaren figure out what they want to do with their driver contracts? Pepperidge Farms remembers when they had a good contract scheme, but hopefully we will too. But thank you all so much for joining us here this evening. And folks, before we get started, of course, we got to pay the bills and talk about this great station, iSports Radio. For the last 10 years, iSports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at iSports Radio on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok to keep up with the latest in sports and with our shows. Also, make sure to keep it locked to our website, iesportsradio.com, which is updated daily with all sorts of great information about our shows. Get in on the blog, pick up some delicious beef jerky. Learn more about your favorite shows. As I said, listen to any episode of any show you may have missed and more, iesportsradio.com. And there below the screen is everywhere you can hear our podcast if you're not able to get on during our live broadcast. And Taryn Rodriguez, we did see him already come in. And hey, if you want to learn more about us, iesportsradio.com/the extra mile. So we've collected our bills. We'll head on out now. Taryn, good evening. The green flag is up. Let's ride. Hello, Taryn. Good to hear from you. And Marcus Los Great. Salute to you, sir. Let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start, of course, with that twice around the clock endurance classic, the 24 Hours of Le Mans. And I wish Michael was here because, Chris, Ferrari does it again.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I did not get to watch much. Sorry, I'm going to be playing with my nose a little bit. So still on the mend from surgery last week. So I've entered the itchy phase. So trying not to got stitches right at the end too. So it's like really bad. But yeah, unfortunately, I did not really get to watch much of the race. I was recuperating. Did get to thankfully see some of the highlights and some of the, clips and reels they put together. So looked like a really successful event as always. And like Larry says, Forza Ferrari, man. At least they get it done somewhere.
Yes. I mean, if we could take the Ferrari WEC team and make it the Ferrari F1 team, maybe they would have actually won a championship by now. Like, it is so weird how different those teams are run. It's like two different organizations. And it kind of is because AF Corse, does run the hypercar program, but it's like completely different cadences on the track, on the radio. However, in the final hours, we were seeing some of that Ferrari F1 seep in. The 51 ended up getting a penalty late in the race for avoidable contact. The 50, they actually had the passenger side door, would not shut. They got the meatball flag to have to come and fix it, but ironically, they came to fix it, put fuel in the car, and they were able to do the Scott Dixon fuel save to get that car to the end on 2% virtual energy, which in the WEC is a combination of fuel and the electrical power used to propel the car forward. 2% energy, they come to the finish line and win the 24 Hours of Le Mans. And I think it was even sweeter than last year. So, Chris,
I didn't know you were throwing that to me.
Oh, sorry. I was throwing that to you.
I thought you were waiting for the applause to go down. We got a little bit of cadence to learn with the new sound effects. We got to get a little more chemistry in there. But yeah, no, it's definitely it's got to feel good to do the repeat. I mean, you win it once and you say, "Hey, I'm here." You win it twice and you're like, "Hey, we are here." Um, so as far as Ferrari and momentum and establishing the program and separating themselves from the other Ferrari, of course, in Formula One, it definitely was a statement win, in my opinion.
It definitely shows that this program is for real. But on the other side, you see there on the screen, this is courtesy of FIAWEC.com, the results of the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Toyota Gazoo Racing, the number 7, yet again, heartbreak for Toyota in a rematch of last year's race. They had it in their hands, but a late spin by Jose Maria Lopez was kind of it was really the undoing of that team with less than a few hours left. He was digging so hard to catch that Ferrari, which was running on fumes. 14 seconds the gap, which is incredible for a 24-hour race. But do not say Toyota cannot compete at Le Mans, because the last 2 years with this increased competition, they have been there and they have been within a hair's breadth of winning this race.
Yeah, and the the strength of the field is great. They're putting on, it's definitely interesting to watch the different teams. Everybody's competitive, and there's definitely, I would say, a lot more interest in endurance racing over the last couple of years. And so, seeing, um, popularity, I would just say motorsports as a whole, but um, it's definitely good, and I think that endurance racing should definitely be more popular than it is, and really the only thing they got for going against them is decreased attention spans.
Yeah.
But no, it puts on great racing, and these men and women that uh, race endurance are just they're incredibly athletes. They're incredible humans to function at such a high level over the course of 24 hours. And really, if you think about it, it's, I mean, it's a show for a couple days. It's practice, and so just the amount of competitiveness that they have for as long as this event takes place is just, it's incredible. Every year it gets better every year. And I'm already looking forward to next year when I'm not recovering from surgery and I can actually watch it.
I believe that. I was actually on a plane for most of it, coming back from Barbados from a vacation last week that had a pretty significant life event, which we'll get to after the break. But it was a lot of fun. But I was actually on the plane from Barbados heading towards the United States and watching the race via my phone. And the Crooks Process hit that like button. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for joining us this evening. Make sure you hit that like button and share this out so that more people can see this great program. Cadillac Racing also had a great showing. Their highest car, the number 2 Cadillac, finished 7th, but was much better. The Cadillac platform was than this result. They were competitive. This number 2 was actually leading at one point in the final hours of the race. And we see the Hertz team, Jota, Porsches. The Porsche actually qualified on the pole, but unfortunately they just did not have the race pace to be competitive, which that's the difficulty now of this BOP program that Hypercar has. You could be great over a lap, but the race pace could be a completely different story. And unfortunately, it bit the Porsches.
Yeah. That's the beauty of endurance racing, right? Is that one lap really doesn't matter. 1 hour doesn't even matter.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what's great. I mean, we have historically talked about how endurance racing obviously has come a long way in terms of the endurance part of it, because back in the day you weren't guaranteed to make 24 hours, and now short of Toyota a handful of years ago that we like to talk about a lot. Um, uh, these guys are hitting the 24-hour mark, but um, I I enjoy the days of not necessarily knowing you'd even make it the full round.
It's funny you bring up Toyota in 2016. They came in the broadcast on Sunday. They talked about that finish.
Did they
by the
really?
way. Yes. It has been 8 years since that car died
Yeah,
on the front stretch
yeah,
in the final minute of the race. No one
yeah.
has forgotten it.
No, no, not on this program especially. We talk about it a couple times this season.
Yeah, I will always remember. I tell this story every time we talk about it, but I will tell it
Yep.
to the day this show ends. I was going to church. Toyota was leading the race. I'm standing there. I was getting ready to go light the candles for church. I bring out my phone to see if Toyota won. And motorsport.com talking about Porsche wins at Le Mans. I'm like, what the heck happened? I got on YouTube and saw it. I was so sick. Absolutely devastated.
Who wasn't?
And I feel sorry because Toyota has won this race 5 times now, and the only thing people talk about is 2016. You know,
Hey,
that it sucks for them, but
people only want to talk about your failures. They never want to talk about your successes.
yeah, but it's also one of those moments that shows why this race is so good.
Yeah.
Because you do not know what's going to
Yep.
happen, and whoever is leading is not guaranteed to be leading at the end of 24 hours. One of the LMP2 cars last year had the same problem. Leading
Yep.
the race, went down to through the first sector, engine died.
Yep.
Last lap. I ought to be absolutely sick. You know, you just can't. You can't count your chickens in the 24 hours of Le Mans until you've crossed that finish line. But
Yeah.
in the other classes, LMP2, United Auto Sports, that team owned by Zach Brown. We're going to be talking about him a lot during this
Yeah,
program.
we will.
They take the win with the number 22 car, Inter-Europol competition number 34, and IDEX Sport number 28 finish out the podium there. And in LMGT3, a completely new category for this year, Mantley EMA, they take their number 91 Porsche to the win by the biggest margin of all 3 classes, 1 lap over Team WRT Lund D. They take second, and Proton Competition was third with their Aston Martin. And Crooks, they're actually not bad.
They're actually really good.
They just have the worst luck imaginable.
Yeah. That would be.
What is a stick and ball team I can compare this to? The
Atlanta
Buffalo
Falcons.
I was going to say the Bills, but the Falcons kind of fit. The Falcons have been there so many times, and then they get to the mountaintop and something happens.
Specifically when they were up 28-3.
That's another one that we will never let them live down.
That's that, Crooks, is well, that's not really fair because the Falcons aren't necessarily always like good, but like they're winning the race, and then 100 feet away from the finish line, they that's a good one, Larry.
Yes.
100 feet away from more than 100 feet, but the car died like within walking distance of the finish line.
Yeah. And the problem is, if he could have just sat there and got it restarted, because the Porsche was a lap down, he had to pass him twice. So if he could have got that car started and it's like bump started across the line, they still would have won the race.
Yeah.
That's what made it even more heartbreaking. But
yeah, a good tailwind and they would have made it.
Yeah. So it was an incredible race. That race was an incredible race. This one was an incredible race. This year's Wooden Spoon Award for the last finisher in the 24 Hours of Le Mans goes to Vista AF Course. They only make it 30 laps in the 24 Hours of Le Mans. That sucks.
30 laps.
That is, you didn't even make it to the end of the first. You didn't even make it to the second hour, and you're already out.
Yeah.
that stinks. So that's unfortunate for them. We await the next 24 hours of Le Mans with bated breath, but the WEC does roll on. Their next race will be in about a month, as they will now take some time to rest and recover, as everybody's going to need it after this race. And they will be, as I go over to the season tab in WEC, they will be at, I believe, the 6 hours of Sao Paulo, which will be in July. That race will run on July 14th. You'll be able to watch that on WEC, on the WEC website, as well as on HBO Max. And before we get out of here, we got with Le Mans, I got to fix my chair here. Unfortunately, we're on live, so we have to do this live. But we got to talk about the rain that we got at Le Mans. It was torrential. At some point, we had at one point coming into Sunday morning, we had a 4-hour rain delay because the track was just completely undrivable. It was the rainiest Le Mans, Chris, I've seen in quite some time.
Was it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the rain was pretty bad. Thankfully they didn't stop the cars, they just kept them running, because honestly, if you stop them while it's raining, you're never going to get the track back.
Yeah.
They did that a couple of years ago during the night, but there was also completely low visibility, and it was sheets of rain coming down this one race. I can't remember the year. It was the year where the video of the safety cars going around. Actually, that was during practice. Sorry, that was during practice where they red flagged it. And the safety car does a drift going into one of the corners. It was that bad of rain. Jeez. But I think that's what brought the race to even higher level, the changeable conditions.
Yeah.
Because it flip-flopped between Ferrari and Toyota, and then Porsche and Cadillac would come back into the mix. Alpine was up there for a little bit before both those cars had engine failure in hour 5 and hour 6. The LMP2 and LMGTE3 battles are going on at the same time. That really didn't get covered that much because the most interesting class this year was the 23 hypercars, and we're going to get more next year with Aston Martin and a couple more Cadillacs and all of the like. But endurance racing is in a good place. I want to wrap up by saying that endurance racing, after the death of LMP1, it has been reborn with this hypercar and LMGTE3 model, or LMGT3 model. And we're in a great place now with the championship. IMSA it's the best of the regional categories. We know that, but it's going on strong. They have an endurance race coming up, the 6 hours of the Glen, in a couple of weeks' time.
This weekend.
Oh, it's this weekend? Oh, yeah, it is this weekend. Sorry.
Yep. My neck of the woods.
It's this Sunday, actually.
Yep.
So excuse me. I got my schedules mixed up, because usually it's a couple of weeks after Le Mans. This year, though, it's like no rest for the wicked. We got another endurance race back home, but
yeah, a couple of the people that are over there, I see on Twitter, talking about packing their bags to come over here.
They're gonna be so tired at the end of this thing.
Oh yeah.
But and I know why they moved it is because they'd have the WEC races now in July, so they moved this race forward to not conflict. But you've got the European Le Mans series going strong. The Asian Le Mans series might be getting hypercar added to their category with some privateer teams in the future. That news broke on Daily Sports Car earlier this week. We are in a golden age of sports car racing. And if you are a fan of multiple motorsports like we are, you're eating good the next couple of years.
Yeah.
So we will go ahead and we're going to take our first break. When we come back, we're going to get into NASCAR. A lot to get to there, including the retirement of Martin Truex Jr. And one team that we thought is dead may not be dead after all. But before we do that, of course, we got to pay some bills with with our wonderful sponsors, Planet Jerky and Seal the Deal Wax Seals. They've got some messages for you. Take a listen to that, and we'll be right back on the other side of that break here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
And we're back here on the Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio. Your direct feed for all that is sports. Darryl and Chris here with you this evening. And I might need to check out some of those wax seals because coming up soon I might have some invitations to mail out because I have an announcement to make. I went off to Barbados. Chris and Larry know this. That's why we did not have a show last weekend. And I can proudly say, and I'm kind of tearing up as I'm saying this, I am engaged. So so much. It was a lot to get together. Miriam was very excited by the whole thing, of course, and so was I. We've been dating for so long. I've been just waiting for the right time to make it official, or the right conditions to make it official. We have, and pretty soon I'm gonna need to send out some wedding invitations, and I'm gonna need some addresses at some point. So
I'll send you a list of dates I'm available.
Okay, I'll try to get you. Try to get y'all some information. Thank you, Crooks. And Miriam, I'll say thank you for both of us because we are very excited for what the future holds. We got a lot to plan before we actually get to the wedding. There's houses to find. Miriam just graduated college, so there's jobs to find, everything. But we will get it together and go on from there. So, and hey, with those wax seals, of course, can order some premium brisket beef jerky as well. And hey, there is a promotion going on right now with Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky Premium Beef Brisket Jerky. If you mention IE Sports Radio with your order, you get a free bag on them. So go ahead, check it out. It is absolutely delicious. Chris and I, actually the whole show, Ordered some not too long ago, and man, was it good. So make sure to pick some of that up.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
Yeah. I recommend the smoky barbecue. That's what I got. Lord, I wish there was more that came in the pack. I'll put it like that. But it was really good. And what was also really good, NASCAR at Iowa. First time at the new short track, the Iowa Corn 350, powered by ethanol. Ryan Blaney picks up the win. And Chris, we've had this belly aching about how to make the short tracks better. Who knew all you needed was a little bit softer tire?
I think a lot of us knew. This was great. Just hats off to NASCAR. It was a great venue. The paving the bottom 2.5 lines was great. We had a couple different grooves that were working. This was a great race. It was an absolute stunner. And just good job, NASCAR.
It was a lot of fun. We had 2 and 3 rod racing, multi-groove racing on a short track of all places.
Yep.
Was really, really good. I'm so happy that this race worked out, because there's been a lot of doom and gloom over the short track package, over the road course package as well. But folks, the road course package isn't bad. These cars are just good at road courses, and we're used to the cars not being good at road courses. That is the difference between NASCAR road course racing back then and now. But back to the news, and the big winner was Ryan Blaney, picking up win number 1 of the year. He finally gets it done after the heartbreak at Gateway. And Chris, you forget sometimes he was the defending champion, because that team in Penske, by extension, has not been as strong as we're used to seeing them. But this 12 car has been starting to pick it up the last couple of weeks. And actually, Gateway was 2 weeks ago. But Ryan Blaney finally makes it happen this week.
Yeah, and I was a little nervous for him just because he had only taken 2 tires, and tires seemed to be a little bit of an issue. So I was pretty nervous for him. Glad, especially as the laps kept going down and we were inside the top 10. And was it last week that he ran out of gas?
It was at Gateway, so it was a couple of weeks ago. There was a Sonoma in between there.
But I was just like thinking to myself, I'm like, please not a repeat. Like, just let the kid finish the lap. And of course, like, we get inside 10 to go, and the announcers want to keep bringing it up too. And I'm just like, I even said to my wife, I'm like, they're jinxing him. They are absolutely jinxing him right now. Something is going to happen with a couple to go, and Blaney's going to lose it. And we're Blaney fans in this house, so pretty happy about it. So, and Bowman had a pretty good day, so I was pretty happy. We'll take an 8th place finish.
Yeah, Bowman picks up 8th. William Byron picking up 2nd. William, you forget he has 3 wins this season, because he just goes on these like peaks and valleys where it's like, dude, where did you go? And then he pops up and like wins a race. It's really weird. People try to say that he's not good at Hendrick when he's got 3 wins right now and is 4th in point. Please put your heads on straight. Like, with Alex Bowman as well, I'm going to go off on a tangent here. It's not that Willie B and Alex Bowman are bad. Kyle Larson is a generational talent, and so is Chase Elliott. You have 2 of those in the same team. William Byron would be a renaissance run for 85% of the teams in Cup if he took his stats and went to another team.
Absolutely.
The same way.
Absolutely. Hendrick, a handful of years ago, they committed to this stable of younger guys, and kind of like what they did before. I mean, you had, with the exception of Junior coming in a little bit later in his career, and it wasn't even later in his career. He was just in it from a young age, but they committed to Jeff Gordon. They committed to Jimmy Johnson. They committed to younger guys, let them develop. They saw the raw talent and said, we're going to bring you in. You got a, safe, secure ride, and you're here to develop. And that's what Hendrick did again. As their guys retired, they replaced him with young guns and said, hey, you got a home here. Your job is to develop and win races, and it's paying off for them. They're doing a great job. All four of the drivers, look at championships and Final Fours, and as far as a roster goes, that's the strongest team that I think going forward. You can make an argument about Joe Gibbs being really strong right now because they have Denny, they have Martin, but their guys are retiring too, and they're starting to replace them with younger guys. And in the next 5 years, Joe Gibbs is going to have 4 guys that have developed for a couple of years, and they're going to be kind of in the same situation that Hendrick's in right now. But they'll have to go through a couple of years of transition. We're seeing Ty Gibbs get into that right now, and Christopher Bell's already went through it, and he's paying dividends, but he was kind of a generational talent too, in a way. So
yeah, it's hard. I want to stick up for those guys, for Byron and Bowman, especially with Bowman, because people keep saying, oh, Raja Karup's going to come take that seat in a couple of years. No, he's not. And I like Raja. I think Raja's going to be a cup driver, but he's not going to be there yet. Ally loves Alex Bowman, and Bowman is good for top 10s and a couple of wins each season.
Yeah,
that is good production. The problem is, as I said, I go back to it, we're used to like these generational numbers. Denny Hamlin at his peak. We don't even have to go through what Jimmy Johnson did in that number 48. We'd be here all day. What Jeff Gordon did in the 24, when Tony Stewart came up in the 20. A lot of these young kids, even Ryan Newman in 2003, when he was winning the pole every week and had 8 wins, we had these super rookies / super young guys come up, and everybody thinks that's what the new kid's supposed to do. No, they're not going to be that good. That's what makes the generational guys generational, because they come up and just absolutely kill everybody. Christopher Bell had those same expectations put on him, and a lot of people were trying to push him out after Matt Kenseth left because he wasn't winning fast enough. The Cup Series, whatever name you remember it in, it's like the NFL. Everybody up here was a track champion somewhere. Everybody is a multiple Xfinity race winner, multiple Truck Series winner, multiple Truck Series champion, Xfinity Series champion. This is the best in American stock car racing in these cars every week. It's going to be hard for these guys to get together, and you've got to temper the expectations. Byron and Bowman are a lot better than a lot of the guys behind them. You just don't see it because their teammates are Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson.
Yeah, definitely hard to be on a team with them, and just kind of like back to what you were saying, it takes a couple of years to develop. These races are longer than anything they've done it before. The level of competition is much higher, especially for the younger guys. Think about like Ty Gibbs coming in, racing against, future Hall of Famers all over the place in this field. Right now, I could probably name off 8 to 10 future Hall of Famers without a second guess. I mean, we look at just the top 10 finishers right there. You got Blaney. He's probably going in now that he's a champion. Byron's going in. Elliott's going in. Logano's a shoe in. Barry, we don't know much about, and we'll see how that goes. And Keselowski, that's what, 4 or 5 right there in the top 10. So, I mean,
that's 4 potential Hall of Famers in the top 10. We can even go further down this list. Martin Truex, a guy we're going to talk about in a little bit later. He's a Hall of Famer. He was only 15th.
Yeah.
Ross Chastain, building a Hall of Fame career, needs some more accolades, but he was only 11th. Noah Gragson, He was another one of the young guys that we thought was going to do something. Only 16th. You know, we can keep going down this list of all the Denny Hamlin, the greatest driver to never win a championship, 24th right now.
Yeah. So that, I mean, that just goes to show
in
that
Iowa. Sorry,
that these young guys coming in, they're racing, at any given time, 10 to 15 future Hall of Famers. So the fact that we put such high expectations on these young guys to come in and start winning right away is it's ridiculous.
We have to, much like NFL quarterbacks, as the rookies that are about to start this year, temper the expectations.
So we should take that banner down because we're not necessarily talking about Byron and Bowman at this point. I think we moved past that a little bit, but
I mean, it's in general, just you got to let the young guys or the guys that are like in the middle of their career develop, and some guys are just going to be fine, and that's okay. What was not fine, Toyota's performance at Iowa. They were horrid. Christopher Bell was 4th. The next highest Toyota, the aforementioned Martin Truex, in 15th. The short track package for Toyota, not great. Here's your problem. The race to get into the Final Four is a short track. The final race of the season might as well be a short track. Chris, how does Toyota fix the issues with the Camry at short tracks?
I got no idea. But they've got to figure it out soon because they, like you're saying, they got some short tracks to make it through to be in contention for the championship one. And then they got to go win it too. So they've got some ground to cover up. And, as far as, factory support, so to speak, I think Toyota does a great job helping out the teams, and they're 100% committed to NASCAR and dumping money into the sport. So they'll figure it out. I'm sure they will. And, I'm sure that's a very high priority for them right now. So I'm not hitting the panic button yet. I'd say we get to Bristol for the night race. And if they aren't competitive there, they'll get a few that squeak by into round 2. But if they're not really competitive at Bristol, then I'm probably starting to panic a little bit.
Yeah, and between there, they've got Richmond August 11th. That's next time
Richmond.
We'll be at a short track. We are going to New Hampshire, which is it is a short track 1.5-mile hybrid. It's basically a longer Martinsville, but Toyota tends to run well there. So we'll see how that goes. One driver for the Toyota stable will be saying goodbye at the end of the season, and that is Martin Truex Jr. He announced earlier this week that he will be stepping away from full-time competition in 2024. Martin Truex Jr.'s career was a slow burn that almost did not happen after the debacle at Michael Waltrip Racing. He went over to Furniture Row after Regan Smith got that team somewhat competitive. We thought he was just going to be an also-ran for the rest of his career, and he went and won a championship with Furniture Row, a storybook championship for them. Went to JGR, where he was still competitive up until the last few years, and now he's saying goodbye. And a multiple-time Xfinity Series champion, a Cup Series champion, and with all the context of the story with Furniture Row, we're going to see Martin Truex Jr. with a blue jacket pretty soon. Yeah.
Absolutely. First ballot Hall of Famer. He's a shoo-in. And just a absolutely incredible career, a very long career too. And I still remember him covering for Junior years and years ago. That was back in the DEI days. But yeah, I can remember my first memory of Martin Truex Jr. is, as a junior fan. So he filled in for Junior, and he did a pretty good job running for Junior when he, kind of his first foray into Cup. So, um, great career. He's going to be a guy that we definitely miss seeing every Sunday for sure. And I don't think he's going to be checked out completely. I could see him coming around and doing some broadcasts a couple times a season and stuff like that. Probably not like a full-time guy, but he definitely seems like the type of guy he's going to enjoy his retirement to like the fullest. So hats off to him. Congratulations on, like I said, first ballot Hall of Fame career. And it's going to suck to see him go, but looking forward to see, what happens with that car and, if it gets rebranded into another number and what new sponsors come in and who fills the seat and all that. So bittersweet.
And as we come into New Hampshire this week, which will start the retirement tour for Martin Truex at one of his 18 home tracks that he has, this also starts the summer crunch to the playoffs. We have the results up here, or the current standings right now. Chase Elliott leading by 8 points over Kyle Larson, with Denny Hamlin, William Byron, Martin Truex Jr. rounding out the top 5. This group pretty much safe, I think we all can agree, in getting into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Tyler Reddick, Ryan Blaney, Christopher Bell, Brad Keselowski, and Ross Chastain in position 6 through 10. And you see their stage points here in parentheses next to their regular points. Then you get down to behind this group. These are the folks we're worried about. Ty Gibbs, he's not completely safe. A couple of bad weeks, he's going to be in trouble. Alex Bowman, despite the good finish, he goes down a spot as well. Chris Buescher, 13th. Look, I'm not going to get on the soapbox about Bubba Wallace. You all know how I feel. He should not be down this far. Joe Logano, Kyle Busch has been the biggest surprise.
Yeah.
This group right here, this 13th through 16th, they are in trouble, and I could see at least two, not making it to the playoffs. Because you're going to get a wild card winner somewhere. The Chicago Street Race is coming up. I don't think SVG is going to be in it, but that could take a win off the table. We don't know what's going to happen at the Brickyard. Daytona is, Daytona. And folks are going to start getting desperate back here. Chase Briscoe, Daniel Suarez, the newest American citizen. Congratulations, amigo. Yep. Austin Cindric, Todd Gilliland. These guys want to get in the playoffs, especially Todd Gilliland. They've got that. He's with front row. He's trying to audition to be the number one guy there now that Michael McDowell is leaving. You got to get on your horse.
Who else do we got lower down on the standings?
Well, here's 21st through 25th. You got Josh Berry.
McDowell can sneak in one. He's sneaky good on road courses.
And we've got that street course coming up. And unfortunately, we lost the Indy Road course where he was so successful at. But Watkins Glen, I believe, is still a track that is. Oh, it's in the playoff. Dang. All right, because we have this change up because of the break.
Yep.
If he gets into the playoffs, watch out for Watkins Glen. Even not, he could play spoiler there. But going towards the playoffs, you see the names on this list: Eric Jones, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Noah Gragson,
plate track racers right there.
Yep. Even Carson Hocevar going into Daytona. It's not going to be
Haley
easy.
too. He's a sneaky good.
Haley's been a lot better recently.
Yeah.
Even though he is 30th, it has been coming along for this number 51. There's a lot of guys down here, and then
Austin
you look at
Dillon. Whoa. I've got my thoughts on him, but
I mean, look at Harrison Burton too. Just you look at these guys; they've got to make something happen in these next couple of months, especially when we have that Olympic break. So we have a little less time to get those wins. And trust me, you want to go on that break, comfortable instead of getting nervous. And when we come back of, oh my gosh, I got to get a win. So these guys are going to get real desperate, especially Ryan Preece. He is trying to get a job next year. Noah Gregson, the same way, trying to get a job next year. He's got to show something. John Hunter Nemechek, we don't know what's going to happen with him. He's got some work to do.
Yeah.
And as you can see, we go down the list. Thankfully, there's no competitors running the whole season down here because that would be embarrassing.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a lot of work to do for these drivers in the back half of the standings, especially these guys in this danger zone, to make something happen. And that's what's going to make racing like at New Hampshire, especially if we get any weather, it's going to make it a lot of fun. However, we are go ahead.
Well, if we look at 17 through, let's say 25, can you get those on your can you get all those on there?
I might be able to. Yeah, there we go.
All right, who do you think's the most likely to pull out a win? Or
I think you see Josh Berry pull out a win.
You think so?
Yeah. So Josh Berry,
I think Cindric might be my dark horse in that range.
Yeah. Cindric could possibly pick up a win, and that would just throw this playoff system right on its head. So we will see what happens going on this weekend at New Hampshire. And please, please, please drink plenty of water this week or this weekend. The temperatures in the Northeast are going to be absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, it was like 90 today.
Oof. So, yeah, and it's going to be worse. I think it's going to be near 100 this weekend. I know it's going to be 96 degrees down here, 98 on Sunday. So stay inside.
It's going to be 84 on Sunday here, like where I'm upstate New York. So,
yeah.
Thunderstorm.
So it'll be a little bit better for you guys.
Yeah.
So we have a little bit of truncated show this week. Just to be our producer has some other plans he's working on this evening, so we don't want to keep him too long. So we're going to go quickly into a couple of topics from IndyCar and a couple of topics from Formula One. We're going to start with Formula One. We're going into the European schedule with the Spanish Grand Prix. And the question is, where is Sainz going to go? All signs point to either Williams or Audi, but either way, that is a big downgrade for a guy that we thought at one point was better than Charles Leclerc.
Oh no, we're good to keep going, Darryl.
Okay.
Larry said he's here for the long haul.
All right, cool.
He said go till midnight Eastern time if we want to.
Okay, just want to make sure. So I just want to clear that up. So if he's all good, we'll keep on going. So we'll actually hit the Sainz thing and take a little bit of a break. So I don't know where he's going to go. And I don't know. It feels like a downgrade. People talk about Audi as a customer team. A constructor. They're going to be a first-time constructor. And Williams, they don't have enough money to have like 2 spare cars ready to go. So either way, he's going into some bad situations next year.
Yeah. Yeah. And he played himself kind of.
Yeah.
Because I think he turned down a ride at Mercedes, didn't he?
Yeah. He did not take the Mercedes ride.
So he played himself. That's the nicest thing I can say about it.
Yeah, that is the nicest way we will put that. And one more before we go to break. There's this conversation of what is going to happen with this Formula One World Championship. We've seen Red Bull stumble a little bit, which makes us think we're going to have an exciting fight to the end. And then we have a race like Canada where Max comes back and narratives are reestablished. So which narrative is going to continue in this week into Spain? Is it going to be a championship fight, or is Red Bull going to come back to form?
My shirt should tell you where my loyalties lie. All I'll say is the third fastest car won in Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as Max is in the car, Red Bull has a very good shot at pulling off the win, even if they're not the fastest ones.
When Max Verstappen's in your car, it makes for a lot easier when you have bad days. So we'll see what happens. When we come back, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to appraise some of the Formula One teams as we get into the midseason form. And McLaren, can you figure out what you want to do with your drivers? We'll talk about that on the side of this break here on the Extra Mile on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be right back.
Hey, Cleveland and Columbus sports fans. This is Jen B, host of the Show of the Land on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. If you love Cleveland and Columbus sports like I do, be sure to tune in live to the Show of the Land on Tuesdays, where we will cover the Cleveland Browns, Cavs, Guardians, and Monsters. We will also talk about the Columbus Blue Jackets, Crew, Fury, and of course, the Ohio State Buckeyes. We'll also cover other colleges in the area like Akron, Kent State, Cleveland State, Mount Union, John Carroll, Baldwin Wallace, Youngstown State, among others. So like I said, if you love Cleveland and Columbus sports like I do, be sure to tune in Tuesdays to the Show of the Land with Jen B on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, sports fans? You're listening to IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your favorite West Coast Wisconsinite, Bernie Bango, and if you're a cheesehead, come listen to my show, Big Cheese Sports, where we road trip around America's Dairyland, previewing, reviewing, predicting, debating, and digging into all that is Wisconsin sports at the college and pro levels. Join me on IE Sports Radio, Sundays at 1 p.m. Central Standard. Bernie out.
And we're back here on the Extra Mile on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Darryl and Chris here with you this evening as we wrap up another edition of the Extra Mile. Before that, we're going to get into some more Formula One and IndyCar topics. And we're going to start, of course, with the midseason appraisal of a few teams out there in the Formula One space. And we will start, of course, with the top of the grid. Of course, your Red Bulls, your Ferraris, your Mercedes, or I guess I'll say McLaren now instead of Mercedes. I think McLaren has been the biggest positive surprise out of the teams I just named. But Mercedes, on the other hand, we talked a little bit about this before Canada. That team has just completely fallen off where they were. And it's hard when you were, 7-time champions or 8-time constructors champions, but to not even be in the fight, it's pretty disappointing.
Yeah, but I would say they're getting things turned around though. If we look at where they were, 2 years ago to where they are right now, they've made huge gains. Red Bull's obviously not progressing at the same rate, so the field's starting to catch up with them. And I think that Mercedes I think they're coming back. I think it's a little bit slower than people would like, but I really wouldn't be surprised to see them, um, pretty competitive and maybe a win or two by the end of the season. Um, but I think their outlook is probably better than Red Bulls for next year, I'd say.
You really think that?
Depending on how like the rest of the season plays out and behind the scenes and stuff like that, but Red Bulls obviously got a divorce coming up with Nui, and the house has been shaken a little bit, and we don't know what their aerodynamic team or anything like that looks like, going forward. So meanwhile, Mercedes, they're making some good progress. They're getting faster, and it tells you a lot when Red Bull starts making complaints against the car. So
Yeah.
we're back to Mercedes, the telltale sign of a Mercedes dominant era, because Red Bull thinks they're cheating. So that's got to be a good sign for Mercedes fans, right?
It's got to be a good sign for them, and it's definitely not a good sign for fans of Red Bull if we're back to everybody else is cheating again. That tells you got some problems at home. But you look at what happened with McLaren, they hit another miracle upgrade. If they can keep going on this pace and carry it into next year, they're going to be looking pretty good. And Oscar Piastri, we haven't said his name a lot, but Lando Norris, he's really coming alive with how this car has progressed.
Yeah, and I think it was like towards the end of last year, I was saying I never thought Lando would get a win in a McLaren car, and that's changed this year. And yeah, I think McLaren's doing great. They've really turned themselves around the last year and a half or so. Whatever they found in the later half of last season has definitely worked for them. So, McLaren F1 team, great. McLaren IndyCar team, not so great.
We'll talk about them in a minute as well. We go behind Mercedes into Aston Martin, Red Bull, Honda, and Haas, and I struggle to figure out which one of these teams is the most disappointing, because at least Haas scored points.
Yeah,
but they should be a lot higher compared to when they started. Everybody was talking up Ricciardo coming back like it was going to be the second coming for this Honda team. That has not happened. And for Aston Martin, well, let's just be clear. The boss's son is holding the team back.
Yeah. Couldn't have said that better myself. Yeah. Absolutely right. Though V-Carb,
mm-hmm.
they've brought like a completely different car to Spain, though. So maybe we'll see something different.
Well, they need some points desperately.
Yuki's been good.
Yeah, Yuki has been good, and he's finally getting an opportunity to show what he can do. Ricciardo, I'm gonna be honest, he's washed. Like Ricciardo does not really need that seat anymore.
He's a personality hire.
Yeah.
The thing is like he really is just a PR machine.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's the second tier team. They really don't care what happens with V-Carb, but they have a PR machine in Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah. They're just trying to make some good vibes, and they definitely need it, given with what's going on with the top team. Haas, they're just settle Andretti. I think that's where we are with that team. I don't think anyone really in the United States really even looks at teams' way at this point. It's just whatever.
Yeah. Big mistake getting rid of Gunter, in my opinion.
Yeah. And then we get to the teams that are not great. Your Alpine, your Williams, and your Kick Sauber. The Kick Sauber team has just had just runs of bad luck because they should have scored points by now.
Yeah.
On the other hand, Alpine gets lucky points. They should be the ones in 10th place. Half their design team quit when that car was unveiled. It's overweight. The two drivers have had to share it. The two have had to share the weight penalty. The two drivers are also trying to kill each other because it's two Frenchmen in the same team. One of them is leaving. Alpine might not be using Renault engines anymore after in 2026. It's just a disaster.
Yeah, we got a sad trumpet sound, right? Because that's what Alpine is this past year. It's last year I thought they looked like they had some signs of life in them too, and then this year it's just like complete 180. Hopefully they're just waiting for 2026. You can't really defend what they're doing any other way.
Yeah. And if it sounds like they're giving up the engine program, they think that just the Andretti thing's just not going to happen. So they're going to lose that income at this point. So they might as well just cut their loss and just become another engine team that buys engines. But who knows? That antitrust case might come up and Andretti will be on the grid by hook or by crook. We'll see.
Let's hope so.
So let's move over from Formula One. Let's not move over from Formula One yet. They're going into Spain. This is a track where the racing, it's not great. They kind of call it. Oh no, that's Hungary. That's the nickname I'm about to say. But it is a track where it's got limited passing zones. So a lot's going to come down to qualifying to make something happen, which means that the drivers with one lap pace, they could be good here going into this weekend.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think. I'm looking at. Yeah, there's a couple decent zones, but I wouldn't be surprised to see the big three up there. Red Bull, Mercedes, McLaren. They're going to be duking it out. And if it goes down to single lap speed, I think McLaren's got a really good chance of locking out the front row. And then I'd probably put money on McLaren getting pole for sure. And then maybe Max, but probably Oscar realistically. So if they can get the pole, they control the speed of the race. So be interesting to see.
It's going to be really fun to see how that goes this weekend. That race will be on ESPN. And now we get into IndyCar. We've been teasing this all night. Let's go ahead and get into it. Nolan Siegel has been signed to race for Arrow McLaren for the rest of the season, which came to the surprise of Theo Pourchaire, the GP2 champion from last year, who gave up his Super Formula ride to come do this because he thought he was going to get a full season ride. His 2024 racing season is pretty much over at this point, so he'll be standing in the back of the McLaren garage on P1 days, I guess. And then Nolan Siegel did make the Indy 500, but hey, at least he got a ride for the rest of the season, and he did win the 24 Hours of Le Mans in class over the weekend. So that is a consolation. But what is McLaren between this and the Alex Palou saga, and then them kicking out Lena Gade for no reason when Alonso's deal fell through? What is going on with this team?
No idea. Beats me, man. I don't know. I don't think Zach Brown knows what's going on with that team, to be honest with you. I don't. It's just a shame. that Theo had given up his Super Formula ride for the season, and then to get replaced halfway through, that's just, not suitable for work, the words I'm thinking of. So
Yeah, we kind of got to be nice about it, but it's just, I just don't understand what they're doing over there.
yeah, I don't know, and it's a damn shame though, because they've got competitive cars, and I didn't think Porsche was doing that bad.
No, he wasn't, and it goes back to with McLaren. Have we seen a Formula One or not a Formula IndyCar team squander the goodwill they've had with the fans as fast as this team has?
Probably not. Short of Penske. Well,
Yeah.
I guess we could, because you could say that the engine change because Chevy's not ready. So there's not a lot of good PR for IndyCar the last couple months.
No, and speaking of that, and we're going to skip over one topic. This is happening.
Yeah.
IndyCar, all the races are going to be on Big Fox next year. I want to be hopeful for this because all the practice and qualifying will be on FS1 and FS2. Indy Next will also have their own program. However, we've seen how they did NASCAR on Fox this year. The worst broadcast I've seen in a while.
Yeah.
That's coming to IndyCar next year, by the way.
Yep.
Get ready for Adam Alexander to call the Indy 500. No more Lee Diffie with that. So it's hard to be optimistic when you've seen how bad Fox has treated motorsports, specifically with how they've done NASCAR this year.
Yeah. The coverage has been a letdown so far. Well, it was a letdown. And that's not to say that NBC is perfect by any means. But Fox is bad.
Yeah.
It's bad. And you know what? Dale Jr. being gone sucks too. Yeah. Like, not to jump back to NASCAR, but like, I missed him.
Well, he'll be back next year with Amazon. I don't know. I mean, NBC threw a desperation heave to keep the Indy 500, which is really, let's be honest, that's what IndyCar is based on. 70% of the folks that watch IndyCar, watch Indy 500, don't watch another race all year. So that you're trying to get that Indy 500 bump. Maybe having all the races on network TV is going to help, but I just don't. Fox has got to come a lot stronger with their presentation than they did this year, or it's going to fail. But they canceled NASCAR Race Hub. They had their last episode on June 11th. Yep. I really don't know what they're doing over there.
I would have to think there's some sort of bigger plan. And it'd be good if we had any kind of indication what that was. But right now, it just looks like bad move after bad move. So hopefully there's a light at the end of the tunnel. There's a bigger something they're working towards. So I will be cautiously optimistic is going to be my viewpoint.
Yeah. I'm going to try to be positive. I'm going to be watching all the races, but trust me, you're going to hear a lot of complaints on Twitter if this broadcast is not great.
Yep. Absolutely you will.
And on a better news, we do have racing this weekend in Laguna Seca. Always a fun track with IndyCar. However, not a lot of passing zones here. That's going to play towards more of a strategy race, which means your drivers that are good at saving fuel, Scott Dixon for one of them, that could be one of your picks this week.
Yeah, I think he is my pick this week, actually. So, yeah, we say it week after week. Don't rule him out. And he delivered this season already. So, very easy to see him do it again.
It's going to be a lot of fun. This track is always a lot of fun. Alex Palou has also been good here, and those are your principal fighters in the championship. The Penske guys, always drivers you're going to have to watch here. But the one thing you've got to watch is the early lap chaos going into turn number 1. And there's a lot of dirt on the outside in Laguna Seca. You put one wheel off, you're going for a ride. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait to see who is going to pick up the win. That race will be on USA at pretty much from 11 a.m. to about 9 at night. Keep it on USA because you're going to see a lot of racing all weekend long and all Sunday long. And, of course, that means a lot of opportunities for points in nearest the win. Chris has our update. Chris, what's going on?
We'll get that drawn up here. Alrighty. So, standings are updated as of last week. So, I'm winning. Yay me. It's been a couple of years since I've been in the lead. So, got a pretty good lead going in. Darryl, you're not doing bad, 5th place. Michael is in 8th. So, our team is kind of diversely throughout the field. So, plenty of racing left to go, though. So, these standings are definitely going to change, and my good luck will run out eventually with NASCAR. So, Alex Bowman has saved me a lot because I picked him a lot, and we've gotten 10 top 10s, and I think I've picked him for like 6 or 7 of them. So, definitely cashing in all my luck so far this season on NASCAR. But yeah,
that's usually how it goes.
Yeah.
As your NASCAR luck goes, so does your points.
Yep. So we'll see. Yeah.
So do we have our draw so far of who we think is going to win this week?
Yeah. Let me get that open quick. Give me just a second. I got to get used to responses. Here we go. I got to get the feel for this new broadcast. Right there. All right. So there we go. Okay. So this week for NASCAR, we got 4 people have picked William Byron. 1 person has picked Tyler Reddick. 2 picked Martin Truex. 1 picked Kyle Larson, and 1 picked Denny Hamlin. For Formula One, now for those people watching who don't know how Formula One works for us, you have to pick each team. You have to pick 1 driver from each team throughout the season, 1 time throughout the season. So you're going to see like 2 picks for Alex Albon. It's not necessarily because anybody thinks he has any chance of winning the race. This is a throwaway weekend to try to use that Williams pick, so that way you're eligible. So we got an Alex Albon, a Valtteri Bottas, Max Verstappen, Lando, Esti, and Carlos. And then in IndyCar, 3 Colton Herta. I'll never pick him again, Darryl. If you remember that one season where I picked him like every other week and he just let me down. And then the one week I didn't pick him, you pick him and he wins. So never make that mistake again. We got a Rossi, 3 Pelos, and a Scott Dixon. And then for the no risk pick for the people, so this is picking where you think Martin Truex Jr. is going to finish his home track race. So you could pick One, you could pick like 1 to 5 and you'd get 10 points. Or if you wanted to do like first, like a top 10, you could pick 1 to 5 and 6 to 10, and you'd get 5 points. So there's a lot of faith in him finishing in the top 10. So we talked about a little bit earlier in the program, the woes that Toyota is having at short tracks, and Loudon certainly fits that bill. So I'm kind of regretting picking him in the top 10 right now, to be honest with you, after our discussion tonight.
Well, good luck to everyone's picks this weekend. Before we go, Larry did have a question. He mentioned, we talked a little bit about the show. Now that Tony's in the NHRA, now that Tony Stewart's in the NHRA, can he be considered to be one of the top drivers of all time? He's got to get a win in Top Fuel. I think he's got to get a championship in Top Fuel before we put him in that pantheon. He does have some wins in Top Alcohol, but he's got to find a way to win that championship in Top Fuel Dragster. He does that, I think you can put him on that Mount Rushmore of all-time drivers.
Yeah. That's probably about the perfect answer to that.
So that will wrap up this edition of the Extra Mile. Remember, Chris is at Fiji Sims. I'm at DK Jr. 12. If you want to get at us on Twitter. Thank you so much for watching this evening, and we will see you at the next green flag. Good night, everybody.